Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Hey, folks. Welcome.
I hear the train a-coming.
It is Johnny Cash Friday. My name is Paul. You found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality where we are building a liberty machine. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Johnny Cash Friday, of course, if you're just now figuring this out, is a day where we try to listen to as much Johnny Cash music as we possibly can, while at the same time peppering in the news and the events of the day. Now, speaking of the news that we need to pepper in, news and events of the day, I'm not really sure how I don't know if I'm going to be able to accurately describe my feelings about this next headline. But it's one of it's one of joy. It's one of gratefulness. I'm grateful that someone in Bentonville has decided, Joe, go ahead and show them, to primary Dan Douglas. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's an extra special Johnny Cash Friday for that reason. There is probably no one more excited about this than me. There's probably no one who wanted and attempted to get more of your money this past session than State Representative Republican Dan Douglas. There was not a tax increase that he saw that he didn't like, whether it's the gas tax or the internet taxes. This is the guy going after millions and millions more dollars in taxpayer revenue because he thinks, I don't know, he had every argument in the book, talking about, he talked about single moms and we got to fund pre-K, or we're going to have to, he even said at one point that if we don't pass this tax increase bill, that we're going to have to throw people out of nursing homes. I mean, he was using leftist tactics, and that's because he is a leftist. That's because he doesn't really want to, he doesn't want to implement the Republican Party platform. Dan Douglas doesn't want to do those things. He hasn't done those things. And so somebody from Bentonville has decided to actually do something about it. The man's name is Scott Richardson. He is an Arkansas National Guard veteran of the Gulf War, and it's primary season, and primary is now the new general election. Primaries are now the new general election. We've been saying that for a while now. And listen, this gives me a lot of faith that when you act like a progressive liberal, when you act like that you don't know what conservatism is and you actually vote that way, when you act that, then there's going to at least be consequences, that you will be primaried and you will be targeted for removal because you're not an actual conservative. And that's a really good thing here. And I hope Dan Douglas, he's got a record. Dan Douglas has an extensive record. It stands for big government growth. Not to mention, he's just, I don't know why you would ever vote for Dan Douglas. Of course, unless you're Walmart. I mean, he seems to want to do their bidding. But if you just go listen to the stuff that he says, the phrases that he says, I mean, it's pretty immense and embarrassing. I mean, if you're from Bentonville, I don't see how you're going to continue to support a guy that represents you guys like this. Take a listen.
In 1972, I bought a Led Zeppelin 4 album for the song Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah. That was a good song. I mean, I can't criticize his taste in music so far, but we'll see.
Let me tell you about the internet tax. Let me just explain this to you, okay? I wear Wrangler blue jeans, all right? Why? Because they're cheap. I'm buying for $19.95 a pair. And they make my booty look better, so I'm told. Main Street in Arkansas today is bleeding, and they are bleeding because they are at a disadvantage to the online retailers, and it will tell you how much money you have spent with VictoriaSecret.com or wherever you shop. In 1974, I bought a Doobie Brothers 8-track tape for the song Blackwater on it. Anybody remember that one? It was good.
Mm-hmm. Was it? I mean, it's a pretty good song. I think he's 2-0 here. I can give him this 2.
Who have chosen to do business in this state. Now, people say, what are we going to do if this passes and we have all that money? That's for us to decide. But I ask you, what are we going to do if we do not pass it and we lose our brick and mortar stores, our stores that employ our citizens in our towns?
That's not going to happen.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make just a couple of comments. One, Mr. Waters said that this is an unconstitutional bill, and it is. We can either fund the future of Arkansas, we can either take care of our Main Street businesses, or we can just say to hell with it. In 1995, I bought a CD, a Shania Twain CD. It had a song on it I liked and I wanted. Whose bed have your boots been under?
It's definitely 2-1 now. What do you think? I don't know if I can get behind the Shania Twain. Not bad, though. It is a 90s flashback, though, right?
They're closing the limited, whatever they sell, I don't know. We see what the budget is. Everybody wants, or a lot of people want to cut taxes. Other people want to fund certain projects.
Yeah, big government projects.
We have to have money to do that.
Danny boy.
If you have special projects, if you want to fund pre-K, you have to vote for this bill.
To raise taxes,
if
we
you
already
want
pay you
to
money
fund
for that.
highways, you could vote for this bill. We have to decide how to divvy it up. In total, this could amount to $150 million a year or more. That's my viewpoint on this. I don't consider it a new tax.
Yet it's $150 million out of our pocket. You don't consider it a new tax, though.
In 2011, I downloaded a Lady Gaga song.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I had to edit it.
Born This Way.
I apologize, folks.
Any woman that wears a meat dress, I've just got a lot of respect for, you know. And for the record, I always try to get a good-looking woman sitting beside me. And after it passed out of the Transportation Committee overwhelmingly, I did what a lot of us do, especially when we get older. Representative Hendren, I went into the men's room, and as I was standing there staring at the wall, as we all do, I heard a voice beside me. It was a man that said, now listen to this.
You're
the
crazy.
man said, one thing you didn't mention, and for the record, I always try to get a good-looking woman sitting beside me. Which school you want to close? Which prison you want to shut down? Or are we going to draw lots to throw people out of nursing homes? How are we going to fund these issues? We all know that. We passed medical marijuana here. I didn't know we'd realized we'd started smoking it yet.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Yep, that's exactly right. That is, just a little ditty we worked up. In light of the fact that Dan Douglas, if you're just joining us, Dan Douglas, state representative, taxmongerer, he's got a primary challenger. The guy's name is Scott Richardson. Now, we're trying to get Scott Richardson on the program Monday in the 4 o'clock hour, so really excited about that. And listen to this. Now, I do have one little critique that I want to make of this article here that you see of Doug Thompson. Doug Thompson does write that Douglas's willingness to resort to increased taxes to pay for highway improvements and other purposes, such as collecting the sales tax due on purchases on the internet, is Richardson's main motive for challenging the 3-term legislator, Richardson said. So it's clear here. I mean, the montage, the mashup you just heard, not just the incoherent, my fat body and I like Wrangler blow jeans. Now, I mean, we can either do what we need to do for the people of Arkansas, or we can just say the heck with it. I mean, it's what do you want? What do you want to do? It's a gas tax increase, but we're referring it to the people. And as long as we do that, it's not a tax increase. I don't. Now, Mr. Waters, he did say that is an unconstitutional bill, and it is an unconstitutional bill. I feel like I'm more in character than I was the other day. All right, but so all these tax increases that he had, all this money he's tried to get from us, it's the reason that Scott Richardson has announced against Dan Douglas. But do you see how Doug Thompson, the author here, he actually is not really reporting accurately, in my opinion. Listen to what he says. Douglas's willingness to resort to increased taxes, that's true, to pay for highway improvements and other purposes, such as collecting the sales tax due on purchases, that is actually technically not a correct statement, because it's not a sales tax that's due. There's no sales tax that's due on your internet purchases. I just want you to know that. There is no sales tax due on your internet purchases. There is a use tax that is due, and it's up to you to report it. No one does. Very few people do. But the state wants to have a mechanism to collect that. And instead of manning up and making DFNA the bad guys and having them try to track people down, instead of them trying to enforce it, letting the DFA into your internet purchase history, which they don't want to do. You know why? Because you would hate it, wouldn't you? Instead, their bright idea is to expand the sovereignty of Arkansas, which we don't really care about anything else, but we somehow want to be sovereign in Indiana and Montana and California, and we want business owners in those states to pay us tribute for services that they will never see. What does a California business owner benefit from paying an Arkansas tax, right, or keeping track of an Arkansas tax and remitting it to the state when they see no benefit? They're not in here. They're not benefiting from the government services those taxes go to support. And so these people have no concept of smaller government. They have no concept of the only way that you're going to shrink government is to limit the money it can get. Right now, they're trying to get more money. They're trying to create new tributaries to fund this massive behemoth. And we got to say, enough's enough. And thankfully, Dan Douglas's tax increases fell down in flames, but he was Asa Hutchinson's right-hand man, him and Jake Files, to try to take more money from you, while at the same time claiming they were cutting your taxes, right? Because it's just a fee. We're just talking about fees, right? Yeah. Anyway. Thank you, Scott Richardson of Bentonville. I haven't even interviewed you, but I'm thankful that you've taken the first step. You're saying, you know what? Somebody has to primary this guy because he's a Republican and he's been advocating for tax increases, and he did it the entire time he was down there, and he's still doing it. He's going around to other parts of the state saying that, well, maybe we'll take funding our roads seriously and we'll tax ourselves more when bridges start to collapse and fatalities start to increase. I mean, this guy sounds like a Nancy Pelosi leftist accusing Republicans of wanting dirty air, dirty water, and everything else. We got to take a break. It's Johnny Cash Friday. Don't go anywhere.